My clock showing 7:01 PM. We'll call the meeting to order. And for roll call, we'll note that present here in the room is Nikki, Steve, Dave, and Rob. Brian is on Zoom. And do we have Nathan on Zoom?
Not yet.
Not yet. We'll keep an eye out if Nathan joins us. So let the record show that 5 out of the 6 members are present. Item number 2 on the agenda will be approval of the minutes from the October 17th, 2024 meeting. We have a motion.
make a
to
motion that
approve
we-
the meeting. Motion made by Steve, seconded by Dave. Thank you. Any discussions or comments on the minutes?
My name is right.
His name is right.
Mr. Chair, Nate just arrived.
Okay, Nate, welcome, Nate. Dottie, please note that Nate has joined us. Any comments on the minutes? I would just ask for one very, very minor change, Dottie. On the under correspondence, the letter from the superintendent of schools actually arrived on 10/17. And the notes say 10/16. I know that's minor, but probably should be changed. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes with that one minor change, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Item number 3, correspondence. We have a number of items that came in throughout the month. One was via contact BOF, a citizen inquiry about reassessment. I think everyone saw that. The second is a memo from the Conservation Commission. Hopefully everybody received that. We'll be talking about that later in the program. What I have new since the agenda was posted is the tax collector's report came in, I believe, yesterday or the day before, and my days are blending together. And the finest of updates from our finance director, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Also came in. Am I missing anything? Moving on to item number 4, citizen comments. We have a larger than normal group online and in the room, so I'll start in the room first this evening. Is there any citizen in the room that would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, no one in the room. We'll open it up online. There's a number of people online that are muted. If you'd like to make a comment, please unmute yourself and state your name and address. Okay, no citizen comments. Next up is item 5. Who might be responsible for this extra attendance we have tonight. Paul Hopkins, he's going to discuss the changes in the assessment process. Paul, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Oh, thanks for giving me the opportunity to kind of speak about it for a moment. I know it's the great secret right now about what's going on with the reval, but hopefully we'll be able to share a little light on the topic right now. So the general question is, what is the reval? And really what we're doing during the reval process is we're just putting everybody's property to its market value. So in regular terms, it's if you were to put your house on the market today, what we have provided to you is what we think most likely your house would sell for. And what we do is we use the current sales that have happened in town to make comparables to every other town, every other parcel in town. So that's how we're driving that. So we're saying these are what the sales are going on within the town, and this by those we think this is what other homes within the town are going to sell for, even if they're not on the market and they're not selling. One of the caveats to that is motor vehicles and our business personal property accounts. We reval those every year. So every year we put the current market price on cars and on our business assets around town. So real estate is the only one that we do only every 5 years. So we get a lot of questions that this is an unheard of type of increase that we're pushing onto our residents. So I did a comparison since the current reval statute have been in place. So since our 1970 reval, we've conducted 9. We've had 4 that resulted in a higher percentage of change relative to the current one, and we've had 4 that had a relative lower amount of change. So therefore, this reval was smack dab in the middle. It was number 5 of 9. So this is not a unusual change. It's just because it's every 5 years, it just gets kind of put back in the back of our mind. And as you can see, in 1990, the real estate went up 182%. So we're not even in the ballpark of the highest growth in town.
But that was a 10-year variance.
That was a 10-year, correct. Even if you doubled ours, we're only at 120.
It also, Paul, it also can track inflation to some degree.
Yeah.
It does.
One would expect.
And you can take into account, we had two cycles that had a negative impact to the grand list, which followed the crash.
Before we move from this page, could you comment on the determination of motor vehicle assessments?
Sure, so it's not a termination, we are changing, and there's a slide later on that briefly, but I can talk about it. We're changing the methodology of how we do motor vehicle valuations. Historically, we would use the JD Power or the NADA guide to bring every car in town to its clean retail price. So no matter what year it was in, we were bringing the car to its current sales market value. So what we've seen in the last few years is car values escalating. So even though used cars, we think in our mind that they've been decreasing relatively the last few years, post-COVID, we've seen an escalation. The state just passed a law that changed how we're going to price our motor vehicle list. They went to a standard depreciation schedule. So what we'll be doing is when the car is new, we'll be using its MSRP, and then we'll be depreciating it for about 20 years until you can put an antique plate on it. So what we can expect this going forward for this year is most people that have more reasonable or older vehicles will see a decrease in the amount of taxation they pay on their motor vehicle. Newer vehicles, it'll probably stay roughly the same. So if you bought a 2024 vehicle, most likely you'll still be paying similar rates as last year. But this will take effect and really move older, more modest vehicles to a lower assessment structure.
So
Like if depreciation is not straight line, it's based on each year. It's gonna be
It's
something.
based on each year and
Okay.
it depreciates down. We ended about 20 years. And the reason I think the state did that is it's when you can put an antique
Right,
plate
that
on
makes sense.
your
Okay, thank you.
vehicle.
But it is straight line or it's not
It's
straight?
not straight
It's
line.
not straight line. It varies by year. So it's a tiered lower system.
Okay.
It ends up being about 5% a year, roughly.
More front loaded, one would think.
So it's front loaded. Year one, they actually depreciate 15% from the MSRP, and then it's about 3%.
Somewhat follows market.
Right, so.
Thank you.
Yes, that's.
So the real estate gross in and of itself was about 385 million for this revaluation. Our real estate grand list last year was about 664 of the total, and the reval grand list this year is about $1 billion. Of that increase, residential properties went up about 61%. Commercial went up about 27%, industrial about 18%, public utilities, which are CLMP, the water company, those went up 30%. Vacant land went up 82%, and I can explain why in a moment. Use assessments, which is our 490 land, went up 30%, and generally speaking, that's properties that are now in open space that were not last year. And apartments went up, I believe it was about 26%. And our relative total real estate change was just shy of 60%. The vacant land, the reason that was higher than other categories is the excess land and unbuildable land had not had a valuation change since our 2009 revaluation. So there was about a 15-year catch-up that we've had to do on our vacant land to get it to current market.
And Paul, why would apartments not be pacing? Rents have climbed.
So,
Rational.
and we've had quite a few apartment sales in town. You would think that the need for housing is driving real estate apartment housing complexes skyward. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because of the collection rates that are happening that we've noticed around town. Even though the actual amount of rent being contracted is higher, the amount of collectibles has not varied much since our last 4 years of collectibles. So we're seeing that although potential revenue for an apartment building is higher than it has been in the last 4 years, the actual effective income is staying relatively flat.
If I might, the values you're discussing are not market values, are they? It's 70% of them?
Correct. So
Okay.
when we deal with our assessments, state statute says that we have to assess property at 70% of its market. So when we provide people numbers, they have to add an additional 30% on top of it to get what the market value is. So this is about our specific grand list. This is, I think, where the, Board of Finance is going to find most of the entertainment. So you can see for 2023, we came up with a 28.11 mill rate. This is a very rudimentary calculation. This takes no change. So we're not taking in change to the motor vehicle laws. We're not taking into consideration any budgetary needs for the town. All this calculates is saying we're taking the growth from the revaluation and applying it to last year's budget numbers. And that brings the mill rate down to 18.84. So when people are calculating that they got their new assessment and they're using that 28.11 mill rate and getting an astronomically high number, and then they call and are scared of what's happening, we use this as a relative ballpark number to get them generally about where they might be, depending on what happens during the budget and the final grand list totals. And again, this grand list doesn't take into account any appeals. So we're doing our appeals this week. So any lowered assessment or increased assessment from the appeals are not taken into account during this calculation either. This gives everyone an idea of roughly the change in what the average assessments have happened around town. So last year, residential was just under 156. We're almost now to 248,000. Commercial industrial went from 237 to 297, and then our apartments went from 178 to 223. So we have the sales available for everybody to look at, but these are relative to the change of property assessments relative to general locations around town. So I picked general properties around town. And what we noticed during this reval cycle is areas north or the northern section of town, any area near or easily accessible to Massachusetts, had much greater growth than the southern part of town. So as you can see, Dennis Road, which is probably one of our most northerly roads, had 75%, Bonnet Ave 67, East Thompson with quick access over the Mass border was 72. Top View in Quinnebog was at 73. And then you can see as we move south, they get progressively lower. So Valley Road was at 30, excuse me, 60. Gomo at 58, West Thompson at 54. So it stood to reason throughout almost the entire town that the rate of change from south to north grew as you got higher in town. And then I put Wrightson in there as, many people probably think or know that areas along the water have escalated at tremendous rates relative to the rest of town. So, that just gives an idea of where the rates are. And, the town had its first, sale over 1.5 million last 2 months ago. So, that was an interesting, sale that we found. So this is a strata of the single family sales that we used. So like I said, we had that one that was over 1.1 million and it was 1.55, I believe. We didn't have any sales between 900,000 and that $1.5 million sale, so it is an anomaly. But we did have other waterfront sales that we did to drive our numbers. But between 7 and 900,000, we had 4 sales. In the 600,000s, we had 3, 500,000s, 9. The 400,000s was kind of the beginning of our sweet spot, which was 42. 300,000s was about 58, so that's 3 to 500,000 was really where we saw most of our sales. The 200s, although we had 12, many of these were actually flips. So these were houses that were bought by a person who rehabbed the house and then resold it for over 400,000. So even though we had to include them in our sales, these are really resale situations. And then under 200,000, we only had 2. One was a 240 square foot cottage on leased land that was basically a shed that was about to fall down. And the one that was under $200,000 was a house right behind the gas station that sat down below the gas station.
And Paul, what time period was this?
So this
Full
was,
5 years or was this more recent?
no, this was the last 12 or so months.
12 months.
Yeah. So these are not sales that go back to say, okay,
Sure, it's not a blended average over the 5-year period.
it is not. These are current market sales.
And the revals were actually done street by street.
Correct. We verify locate. So what we do is we break down our sales into neighborhoods and we use those neighborhoods to kind of come up with a homogeneous group of homes. And we use those sales that match that grouping to apply those changes to
And then
those
you
parcels.
use a square foot basis kind of thing on the house.
Correct. So what we do is we extract from our vacant land sales, the amount of that the land's applying to the sale price, leaving us with the amount the house applies. And then we do a per square foot basis, and then we do match pairs, which means we look at 2 similar houses that may have only a bathroom difference. So we try to break it down to find out what each component of that sale is contributing to value.
And Paul, just so we're really, really clear, because there's a lot of people listening in and others will hear this after. When you say we, it's not the we, Town of Thompson, we have a third party.
Correct. So
Independently that looks at this, so it's not Paul or anyone else here making that kind of judgment. They're extracting that data. We contract them to do it.
So what we do is I do my sales comparison and the reval company, which was Municipal Valuations, does their review. And then we compare and we find out where we're off. So if we have an area that we both come up with similar numbers, we're good. If there's areas where we're kind of argumentative, we discussed it and came up with a unified number that made sense to what the sales happened. So that way it's not just one set of eyes. It's not the reval company. It's just not the assessor's office.
Okay.
It's a cooperative to come up with good numbers.
Thank you.
But it sounds like you've done a very sophisticated approach. If you're counting bathrooms, it's not just square feet.
Yep.
I mean, you're really looking street by street, or neighborhood by neighborhood.
Right.
All right, sounds.
And we broke it down. One of the things that I talk about is even down to the outbuildings. So the outbuildings haven't had any type of new valuation structure since 2004. So it's been 20 years since anybody took a look at our outbuildings. So we went as far as looking at what things are selling for from outbuilding standpoint. We're looking at permits to see how much garages are costing people to build, and we corrected our assessments accordingly. So this breaks it down even a little bit more detailed. So these are some of the sales that have happened around town. The one that I excluded was the 1.5 million one, as it's an anomaly, but we have Wrightson Drive that sold for $775. We have 458 Lowell Davis, which sold for $525. Donovan Drive, which we had ample amount of sales on, sold for $439.9, and so on. And we keep a listing of all the sales we used for analysis. So if anybody ever wants to have a list, we can provide that to them. There's a copy on the table here. There's plenty of copies up in the assessor's office, so they're readily available for anybody to review. And as we talked about, the residual land has not changed since 2009, so we had about a 15-year catch-up period on our excess land numbers. Outbuildings haven't changed since 2004, so we had about a 20-year uptick that we had to analyze our outbuildings. And one of the things that we had to implement this year fully was the new zoning rules. So in prior revals, the building square footage for a lot was 1.84 acres or 80,000 square feet. Most of the town has been moved down to 40,000 square feet, which is 0.92 acres. The Lake District has changed, the center of town lot sizes have changed, so we had to refactor in each building lot or lot location to make sure that we're valuing according to the new zoning laws. So these are not really all that meaningful to most. These are some of the statistics that we use to make sure that we verify that our sales and our unsale properties are matching up. So the price related differential, this compares higher priced homes or higher square footage homes to smaller, more modest homes. And what we're testing here is making sure that they're changing at equal rates, so that the sales aren't saying that the small home should increase at 50%, the higher home should increase at 30%. And we're applying 50% across the board. We're doing a 1-to-1 comparison to the sales, that if the sales saying this segment of the town is increasing at X number of dollars, that's what we increased it at. If a different area of town is increasing at a different rate, we adjusted that at its appropriate rate. So by having it at a 1, it means that we use the sales to appropriately change values across town.
Could I back up 1 minute with regard to the zoning changes? How do you deal with properties, for example, that is less than 40,000 square feet or property that is landlocked without any access?
So we had to do a review of those specifically, because those were difficult and we're getting a lot of questions on those. And what we had to do is we had to look at what contributing factors excess land values contributed to a parcel's value. So a parcel that may be almost buildable, but conforms to the neighborhood. So let's say it needed 0.92 acres and they only had 0.88 acres, but they had 150 feet of frontage and everything else on the property was upland, so it wasn't covered in water. We found out that by analyzing kind of what the vacant land sales, that those lots had about 30% of what a building lot would have. So that's for lots that somewhat were questionable whether or not, even though they may not conform completely to zoning, that they potentially could be built upon with a couple of extra steps by a builder. If a lot did not conform to any type of zoning, that, you know, it only had 2 feet of frontage, or it was only, you needed 0.92 acres and the lot was only 0.1. We priced anything that was abnormally far away from their requirements at about $4,500 a square foot. And through our residual land pricing, that's what we determined all residual land values in town is about $4,500 an acre.
Oh, an acre.
Okay, you said square foot. I was gonna question.
No, it's
I was about to too.
Yeah, no,
I was like,
it's an acre. So $4,500 for an acre. Our average sales price for lots, or our average value for a lot in town, and it's drastic depending on where you are, but roughly right now, we would say that a building lot in town will be somewhere around $80,000. Now, that'll vary depending on which section of
Mhm.
town you're in, but that's a good average if we were to just average it out across the town.
And the landlocked parcel.
Landlocked is residual land, so it's $4,500 an acre. So if it's just a piece of land like out in the woods of West Thompson, it's 4,500 an acre.
Thank you.
No problem. So the sold unsold test, what this test is that we weren't sales chasing, meaning that we changed the assessments on our sold properties just to get to where the sales price was. And we didn't really effectively make those changes across the entire town. So this looks at the sales specifically, and then it looks at as the town as a whole. So by having a one-to-one comparison, what it does is it's testing that we didn't just change the sales prices or the properties that sold to their sales price and leave the rest of the town just as a afterthought. This says that we changed those houses that didn't sell at the exact same rate that we changed the houses that did sell. So we didn't, just apply factors to the ones that sold to get them to their sales price. Mean, so this takes a look at the average price we are away from its sales price. So right now, if you look at what we listed our appraised values at relative to the houses that sold, we're about 2% lower than what they've sold for. And the median, you want to try and make the mean is the average, the median is the center point of an array. So when we're looking at the array of the town's properties, you want the mean, the average, and the midpoint of the median to be similar. And being 98, 97 in a calculation of 6,000 parcels is pretty darn close. So a little bit on our revaluation company, the company that assisted us in doing this revaluation, Municipal Valuation Services. They have the people that assisted me in doing the valuations were each MAIs, which is the highest designation that an appraiser in the state of Connecticut can achieve. They have the three we used were MAIs. I don't believe there's another revaluation company in the state that has one. So when we are looking at qualified individuals to assist in this, we did select the group that had the most experience and some of the highest qualifications possible. So, and then my last slide was about the motor vehicle law, which we had already touched on. So, so the possibility result in this law is I do believe that the motor vehicle grand list will probably not grow as extensively as it has in the last few years. They have the DMV is about 3 weeks behind in submitting the motor vehicle list to us. We usually get it within the first week of November, and we still haven't received it. So hopefully I'll be able to get that in soon and start working on it and get an idea of where our motor vehicle pricing's going. So I can provide that to you as soon as I have an idea.
Just curious, Paul, are they also using that methodology when you register a vehicle that's used?
No. Nope. You're still paying on its market value at the
I
DMV.
wonder why.
The sales tax.
Yes.
So-
And that's the end of my presentation. So any other
They
questions?
get their
or-
money, we don't.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
On vehicles, if you have a vehicle that's off the road, not registered now, and it's not really drivable, why are we still taxed on it?
So taxation's based on ownership. Taxation isn't based on registration. So the only way to prevent taxation is to not own it. So if it's off the road and it's not in drivable condition, there's some real conditions. What you would have to do is go meet with the Board of Assessment Appeals. You can take some photos that show the condition, maybe it's not running,
Okay.
whatnot. And they have the authority to make changes to it. Again, how we've done it in the past is by statute, we have to use the clean retail price as dictated by the pricing guide. Last year, we had to use JD Power. So we can't make subjective changes from that, so we can't look at it and say, well, it's in poorer condition. So we're gonna move it. That's strictly something the Board of Assessment Appeals has to do.
But
Thank-
if you want the vehicle because you're gonna get another vehicle and you may be able to use parts. You know, it's nice to have it around, but why pay taxes on it when it's of no use as a vehicle?
But, and again, it's,
So I would have to go talk to them and see.
right. Yeah, and you can, schedule an appeal, in our office between February 1st and February 20th.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
If I could,
Bill, yes.
I just want you to check me on some thinking on going back to the valuations going up on used vehicles.
Mhm.
Obviously, that was a shock to a lot of people, myself included,
Mhm.
last year. By the state moving to this new approach. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that as long as you have the same vehicle from year to year, your property tax bill on that vehicle will decline. It would prevent it. I know you probably don't want to talk in absolutes, but it seems to me like if they're using a locked-in depreciation schedule, that you should see a gradual decline and it should prevent a used vehicle from increasing in value.
That was the goal of the law. Now, again, that doesn't take into account what the budget does. So can we absolutely say that it'll always go down? No, but the intent of the new law is to make sure that from year to year, you're paying a little bit less on your car than you did the year before. So that's the intent. In reality, will it play out that way? It's yet to be seen.
I think there's
Well, the
two
assessed
two
value-
sides to that.
Right.
There's the assessment
Right.
piece, and then there's the
There's
mill
the-
rate applied, to it,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And we know we're normalizing the mill rate and working from that thing forward, so. I guess none of us want to make absolutes, but
Right.
I think directionally, we can kind of
It's
get a feel.
headed that way.
Okay. Paul, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated.
Could you go back to the new zoning rules and explain how it affected the Lake District?
So the zoning in and of itself just changed the amount of buildable land. But the zoning in and of itself didn't really have a big impact on the lake. The sales prices of the properties around the lake had
Can you
the,
explain the amount of buildable land difference? Change?
so, the amount of buildable land is now for a house on the lake is 0.34 acres. Depending on where you were on the lake, it was different. There were some sections of town that you needed, 80,000 square feet around the lake. I think along the Thompson Road section. There were some that were in the R40 and blanking on the small stuff. I think it was 0.1. I think you only need, or 0.15. So there were some sections around the lake that only needed 0.15 acres.
0.15 acres.
And now it's all unified as 0.34.
And around the rest of the town, how many acres?
It changes depending on what section of town you're in. So the typical area, which is most of the exterior part of town, is about 40,000 square feet or 0.92 acres,
So almost an acre.
almost an acre.
I wonder, since we're sort of taking questions from the audience, if we might also, if there might offer that opportunity to the Zoom people, to the people on Zoom. It's a hot topic.
Sure.
Again, I don't know if anybody is, wants to, but,
You know,
and again, I know it's not the normal
yeah,
procedure.
this
It's
was
entirely
really
up to
intended
you.
to be a presentation, but I understand it's an important topic, and a lot of people took the time to show up, so. We'll do that.
I get it's up to you.
No, it's a good thought. We don't want to go into a very long, extensive Q and A. Paul's available
Yeah.
outside of here.
I'm
That's
here
true,
every
Paul.
day.
Paul's here every day, so he's available on a one-on-one basis
Yep.
too. But thank you, Steve. Yeah, we'll open it very briefly. If there's anyone has anything top of mind that's concerning them or a question. On Zoom, is there anyone that has a question?
Looks like somebody has their hand up.
Okay,
No,
like
that
Paul.
doesn't, that's.
Oh, that's.
Oh, you have a
that's
question?
your-
That
No,
was
Paul
my
doesn't have a
question.
question. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry
And I
about
mean,
that.
I'm not sure I have-
These are good conversations. We've got a lot more to go through, but Paul, you are available.
I'm here every day. If the town. hall-
Landlocked property
I'm here.
went way up compared to what,
Brian, you're not muted.
I know, I'm depressed about, I'm
You are
depressed, but, I'm gonna say this, that's the best presentation from the assessor's office that I've seen in a long time. It was very informative. I appreciate him taking the time to go into it. I understood quite a bit.
1,000%, Brian.
That's a huge accomplishment, Paul.
I
Thank you.
Now I know when I put the house on the market, what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go talk to Paul first. No, it was a nice presentation.
You'll
Thanks, Paul.
get a nice big house someplace, you know, in the south maybe.
I am going small, Paul, small.
And I want to close it with just one quick comment for everyone that's listening and that took the time to attend, and that is, these years are very different than when we do a reval. This is my second one. Dave's probably been through a few of these. And in a non-reval year, if the mill rate increase was, I just use a really easy number, 1%, that 1% is applied to the entire population in terms of the assessed value of the home. And this, now we're dealing with averages, right? The average increase was 60%. We normalize the mill rate back, and then we move from there, flat or down or up, depending on the budget. It doesn't impact everybody the same because the valuations changed off of that average. And I know last time, you know, there were very broad statements that everybody's taxes are going up, and out of 3,000 properties, 3,000 plus last time, there was like 800 or 900 that actually went down. I'm not saying that's gonna happen again as a repeat, but if you're below the average on the increase, well below it, and there's a slight increase in the mill rate, you could actually in absolute dollars be paying, and Paul's nodding his head, you'd be paying less in tax. And the inverse is true, where if the mill rate were to climb 1%, that doesn't mean that your tax absolute dollars would increase 1% if your property was, you know, very highly valued. It might move more. So it's a very confusing year, and I'm just, and what I just said might be more confusing, but I was trying to kind of give people some perspective on why that is so different, where you and your neighbor might be different.
So when you're looking at it or you're thinking about this, just don't look at the new number change and say, oh my God, my assessment went up $100,000, so I'm gonna get crushed. What you do is you calculate your percentage change and you compare it to the norm. So the further you are away from the norm,
Up or down,
it will be your impact. So the further lower you are compared to the norm, the lower the impact to your taxes are gonna be. The further north you are of that percentage change, the higher the impact is gonna change to you.
Exactly.
So it's not, you know, because a house that went up 150,000 may have a completely different rate of change. So a house on, you know, a section of town that the house was already at 400,000 and it went to 500,000, that $150,000 impact is not as great as if somebody was at $100,000 that went to 250,000. So it's a relative number that you have to compare to the whole.
Exactly. Yes, Dave.
Just a matter of comparison, probably more so for us than the public. The grand list last year probably brought in 773,000 per mill. This coming year, it's going to be close to 400,000 more than that per mill. So when we're talking about a mill increase, it's also a significant value.
That's correct. That's correct, Dave. Likewise with percent changes, you know, a 1 mill rate increase on 18 is a different percentage increase than a 1 mill rate increase on 28. So it can be a confusing year, I guess. We'll get through our budget cycle. Thank you, Paul, again.
Thank you. And I'm like I said, I'm here 5 days a week. This week I'll be here 6, but if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free to call or stop by and I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just want to point out there is someone with, it's Kristen Schultz.
I'm so sorry, and
With
I
her
did
hand
open it up to
raised.
questions, so Paul, do you mind hanging on if I can't field this one or anyone here? Kristen, you have the floor. Could you just, yeah, you have the floor. Not citizen comments.
You're muted.
Hi, this is Richard Schultz, Kristen's husband, 4 Jezierski Lane. I was listening in with her. Earlier on in the presentation, you mentioned that there were some disagreements between the reevaluation company and yourselves about some of these assessments, or at least maybe the approach or something. Could you speak to what those disagreements were?
So it's not necessarily a disagreement, but we may have percentage change differences. So one of the places that we had a lot of discussion is up towards Jezerski Lane around the lake.
Mhm.
And it's because we had very drastic changes in our sales. We had some in the 400s, some in the 700s, and the one at the 1.5. So when we were looking at those, for instance, the Reval company wanted to simply increase all properties at the exact same rate. When I started looking at it and through my analysis, it came clear that lots that were less than 0.3 acres, so our really small waterfront properties had a different rate of increase than our larger properties. So if you were on the water and you had a smaller lot, your rate of change was actually different than the bigger lots that were on the waterfront. So what we ended up doing is we tiered those sales according to size of lot to more accurately depict the sales that were going on around the lake. So it's not that either one of us were wrong, that we would have come up to proper numbers in either case, but it was just a methodology of getting there that was different. So, and being the assessor, I went out in my logic and we made those types of changes.
Thank you. That answers the question.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Okay, no other questions. We'll move on to item number 6, Selectmen's update. Amy, the floor is yours.
All right, so full disclosure, about, what was it, about an hour and a half ago, I was in Bill's office and I said, oh my gosh, I have to do a selectmen's update. So I'm kind of mentally throwing something together. It has been a busy week. So as far as Public Works is concerned, construction season is wrapping up or has wrapped up for the most part. We were grateful for the extended warm period because they were able to do a lot of extra projects that they didn't anticipate to do. Also in regard to Public Works, salt storage facility is in the home stretch. We have moved all the salt back to the storage facility. It looks like there's hardly anything there. Which is good news because Joe will be able to take fewer deliveries because he'll be able to fill it up more than he has in the past. So they're at this point, they're currently focusing on just getting ready for the snow to fly. Let me think, what else? I thought I'd also touch base on some zoning issues that are going on. I've probably received 20 calls at least on the old Monte Bianco restaurant. So if you know and you've been by it, it's at 1097 Thompson Road. There is basically an illegal transfer station, recycling station going on there.
Yeah.
We've brought in Connecticut Deep. We've asked them for help. We've asked MDDH for help. We've issued several cease and desist orders. It's been very difficult. Cindy is now moving, our zoning enforcement officer is moving towards some fines. And we're working directly with the town attorney because this is uncharted territory, where we've never faced somebody who's been quite so defiant. So if you've heard about it or you've driven by and seen it, we are actively working on getting it cleaned up. So I thought that was important, something important to share publicly, because I've taken so many calls about it. Additionally, I've also received calls or inquiries about the former Northeast Sand and Gravel site. As we know, the property was foreclosed on not too long ago. It's under new ownership, and after my request, the zoning enforcement officer is inquiring with the current owners and basically respectfully asking them that it's time that the property be reclaimed. It is no longer a gravel operation, and that reclamation never happened, even though it was ordered by the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2020, that phases 1, 2, and 3 be reclaimed. So we're actively pursuing getting that property reclaimed before it either gets left there or gets transferred to another owner. The time to do it is now. So we're actively pursuing those two issues. We were, and Rob, you were there, but we were at a Putnam EMS meeting last night, myself and 3 members that sit on the board for representing Thompson. Just giving the heads up, we are having a difficult time recruiting EMS workers. And one of the things that we're thinking is both facilities in Putnam and our temporary facility, quote unquote, temporary facility at Thompson Hill Fire Department really doesn't have the accommodations for these staff people that are supposed to sleep there overnight. There's no kitchen, there's no day room, there's no bunks. So we kind of think that that could be some of the issues. Barney Sine, Mayor Sine mentioned at last night's meeting that he has been pursuing a grant opportunity in the hopes of receiving about a $4 million or so grant. And the idea is that if we can find and build a facility that's central to both Putnam and Thompson, we can have one combined facility for both crews to work out of together. So that's in the very distant future, I'm sure, but it is something that we're working on and something that we know is very important in order to ensure that this service succeeds and thrives into the future. So that'll be a combined effort between Thompson and Putnam in the future. And the last thing I wanted to share is kind of fun. The winter market is coming up, winter market, and hopefully bonfire. If we keep getting rain like we've gotten today, it could actually happen. So I'll be doing a rain dance for that. But winter market, December 7th, between the hours of 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. There will be horse-drawn carriage rides. There will be vendors selling crafts so you can buy some Christmas gifts. And like I said, hopefully the bonfire, which will have a couple of food trucks, including Thompson's own Max Catering. They will have their food truck there. And additionally, and the last thing that's happening on that day is our new animal control officer, ACO Brianna, is going to be doing a photo, a Santa pause, she's calling it. Santa will be there for your pets. And you will receive a prize if you bring the most unique pet. So we're talking lizards, snakes, goats, pigs, whatever. And that'll be between 12:30 and 3:30. So it's just before the winter market begins. Have your pets' photos taken with Santa. And that's all I have. Any questions?
I don't have a question, Amy, but a quick comment, because I do sit in on the Putnam EMS piece, and I just thank you for adding that. I would just remind people that while we continue to call it Putnam EMS,
Right.
it's not owned and run by the town of Putnam. It's an independent entity. It's an independent nonprofit entity. And we've had discussions now in our.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, this is Dottie. I'm afraid your voice is not being picked up by the microphone. Thank you.
It's using my high voice. I'm gonna go to my deep voice.
Nope, that's about it.
Okay, sorry, Dottie. Is that better? Is that better, Dottie?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to remind folks that it's not owned by the town of Putnam or run by the town of Putnam. It's an independent entity, Putnam EMS, and we're looking as a group to actually change the name.
Yes.
It's not as easy as just repainting the truck. It is registration, and there's a lot there, but it may become something more broad to include Thompson. And also, Amy, the goals, right? To have 24-hour coverage.
Yep.
And to be under the eight minute respond time, and the team's doing that. So
Yes.
It's been successful in that regard. While we've been ironing out a lot of things, the service we feel has met and exceeded the metrics,
Right.
the standard of metrics that are out there.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. And it truly was always the goal. And they are meeting those goals and objectives. So, and we just want to make sure that this staff, that they have a safe and they have a safe place to be for the 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to be an EMS worker. Most of them work 12-hour shifts or more. So it's a tough job.
And both towns are facing the same situation with
Correct.
where to house them. So by joining with that as well and finding a central location makes a lot of sense. Okay, thank you, Amy. Any other questions or comments for Amy?
No.
Okay, super.
Oh,
Moving
hold on, sorry. Amy, you
Sure.
had mentioned last time on the 250th contest
Oh,
that
yes,
ends,
it ends on Monday.
have
Thank
you
you.
guys seen a lot of?
None yet, but we know people are working on them.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm assuming they're waiting to share their logos until Monday for fear that somebody else might see it.
Sure.
At least that's my thinking.
Perfect.
Could be wrong.
Perfect.
Hope you're right.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 7, a school district update with Superintendent of Schools, Melinda Smith.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm going to give our enrollment report first. We currently have 800 students in Thompson Public Schools. Mary Al Fisher has 356 students, the middle school 263, and the high school 180. However, this week, we just enrolled 6 students, which is odd for this time of the year. 2 more at the high school. We did enroll 2 students from Brazil. And so, non-English speaking students requiring obviously ELL services, but an enrollment of 6 additional students in a week is unusual for this time of the year. So we currently, I hate to report this, but we currently are $823,000 in the red in the area of special education. That's primarily because of the significant needs of the students that have moved into district. We currently have 24 students out of district placed. And I've attended a couple of meetings this week, and the potential of 2 more students going out of district by the time I come back here next month is pretty strong. We are going to get a reimbursement for excess costs around $310,000 to offset that deficit amount. But as we speak, we are in deficit in special ed. The overall school department budget is not in deficit. We are still in the black, right, Mr. Steglitz?
Correct.
We have frozen the budget. We froze that, oh gosh, the beginning of October. So non-essential spending, it isn't being approved. And that's where we remain at this time. We did have to close down the soccer field that's adjacent to the Early Learning Center at Mary Al Fisher. The overuse of that field and the drought conditions caused the grass and any life on that field to be gone. It's just a completely dusted over field. This week, we had it deeply irrigated and heavily seeded, and thank goodness for the rain today. But at this time, it's probably going to be closed for a year, so it can recover. Bill Birch did a nice job cleaning out the old playground and putting some mulch, wood chips down. And the students from Mary Al Fisher will use that alternate space for outdoor recess. However, there might have to be some adjustments in the fall when soccer convenes. So we're going to wait and see and hope that what we did on that field does help the field recover back. So some good news now. We have developed a partnership with Horizons program, and that is a partnership with the Rectory School in Pomfret. The Horizons program offers struggling students with poverty levels, additional reading and math support in the summer. This past summer, it was put together pretty quickly. 3 of our students from Mary Al Fisher attended. They are given this opportunity, and they can go every single summer from rising kindergarten through grade 8. As the program builds at the Rectory School, they are increasing their enrollment for next year. We've already had a preliminary conversation, and we'll be inviting students that meet the criteria and their families to apply for that program. So we're pretty excited that we have this partnership going with the Rectory School. This partnership was developed because of Ann Miller. She serves on that board, and she asked the Rectory School to include Thompson. So it's Putnam, Thompson, and Pomfret that are offered these opportunities. So we're really happy about that. The district celebrated the Day of the Dead on November 1st. And we had a district-wide musical production that came in. Alyssa Lynch, a 7th grade social studies teacher in her class, created shrines in memory of loved ones, and the shrines were paraded through the district. Everybody had a sugar skull mask on, and it was just a fun day. And it was the day after Halloween, so Mary R. Fisher students celebrated Halloween on that day. So every year we're trying to bring in one cultural event. Last year we did Chinese New Year. This year we did Day of the Dead. I hear we're going to Brazil next week for their celebration. So every year we're just trying to bring cultural experiences into the district. We did have a state monitoring visit because, as you know, we are an Alliance District / Opportunity District. I will say that the feedback from the state was extremely positive. Our test scores overall are coming up, but what's more important that they pinpointed was that our students have made significant individual growth, and the word return on investment, they want us to make sure that we're communicating that, because the work that we're doing, we are seeing a return on investment in our students' growth. So our high quality, high dosage tutoring math program is winding down. That was a grant funded program, if you remember, for a year. That will be ending in January. Our math scores have come up, and that growth was attributed back to that HDT program. I did write a letter to Commissioner Charlene Tucker, letting her know how much we appreciated that grant, and we'll take any other grant funding that they have available. The district is part of the U.S. Department of Defense Talent Pipeline now. I attend those meetings with people from a lot of subcontractors that work for Electric Boat, giving their perspective on they're trying to recruit, obviously, people into the workforce. We will be hosting a regional career fair for manufacturing, welding, and engineering in January. And Electric Boat and UConn have been working with our 4th grade students each week for 6 weeks, and they are teaching some science projects. But kids last week were welding with crackers and Cheese Whiz, and this week they did an experiment on water pressure. So that's all free because of our partnership with ED. And then we've received some grant funding, and we are implementing after-school enrichment programs at the middle level. That's my report.
Excellent. Any questions from Melinda? Thank you, Melinda. Moving on to item number 8, financial report. Bill, floor is yours.
Always tough following Amy. Very, very brief. Property taxes are on track. 12.6 million collected, 56.3% of the budget. Current tax collection, prior year, and interest and liens, all 3 on track. State and federal grants, 1.9 million received year to date. That sounds pretty impressive, but it's really all the first installment of the education equalization grant. Local revenue looks fantastic too. We've got a few things coming in here that weren't in the budget, so to speak. We did receive $1.4 million in reimbursement for the school roof project. At a future Board of Finance meeting, we'll be talking about taking that money, and I believe we are required, and I still have to look into this, but we are required to pay down the related bond. So I'll get back to the board on that. The school track reimbursement grant that Tira won for the district. The first payment's in at $423,000, and we received the reimbursement on the it's a pretty old school oil tank project. That's
Yes.
gotta go back 4 or 5 years anyway. Sometimes these reimbursements take a while. Bill Birch and myself both kind of nudge the state on a regular basis, but sometimes it's tough to shake the money loose. Investment income does continue to be strong. The pace has slowed a little bit because of the interest rate, the recent interest rate cuts. Expenses are on track, 4.9 million, including encumbrances, 49.6% of the budget. And other finance news, if I'm looking especially bedraggled tonight, it's because I'm coming off of 3 fun-filled days with our auditors. They actually headed home earlier this evening. It actually went very well. We're off to a very good start on the audit. We've even started down some of the grant testing already, which is much earlier than we've seen in past years. So kudos to the King and King guys. We were fortunate enough to have this same audit team that we had last year, all 3 members, which in public accounting is pretty rare to get your same team back. So it was nice to see. It helps things go a little bit more smoothly. Any questions?
Rob?
Yes, Steve.
One question, 2 parts. Can you comment? The Board of Finance front loaded a couple of projects recently. And I was just wondering, I assume there were grants. Are we receiving money, or do we know when we will receive that money?
So I think that the 2 projects you're referring to are the playground and the emergency management.
Correct.
We're getting closer on receiving the playground money. It hasn't come in yet. I actually just spoke to Thierry yesterday about that. And the emergency management project hasn't kicked off yet, and we have not received that money yet, and the work hasn't happened yet, so there hasn't been any payments there. The guys who sit on the other side of this wall will be moving up to what is currently the wetlands and conservation office on the 2nd floor. Tira will be moving into that office. Wetlands and conservation will be moving here. Did I get that right?
Yep.
So that puts, I think the focus of that move was to have all the land use people in close proximity to each other.
Any other questions?
What about, if I might?
Yes,
so-
please,
so
Steve.
we had a couple of vehicles that we were gonna get reimbursed for, the van for the rec department and emergency
So
management.
the rec
vehicle.
grant is still underway.
Okay.
For the emergency management vehicle, you guys may have seen it. It's on the other side of the town hall. It's actually it's a used, it's a Chevy SUV,
It's a Chevy Tahoe, yeah.
Chevy Tahoe. I believe it was formerly a police, fire chief's vehicle in New York State. So the emergency management guys found a used vehicle. That will be funded, through the sale of the second ambulance and what was the other vehicle? The Humvee,
Yeah,
yes,
right.
how could I forget?
Right.
So that's on track. If I remember right, they paid 18,000 for them. I'd have to, don't quote me on that.
Right.
Too many
I thought
numbers
it was
bouncing
just
around.
shy of 20,
Just shy of 20.
yeah.
And
Which
the
was
fire-
was within the budget.
Mhm.
And the fire marshal?
That vehicle has still not been relinquished, I
No,
guess, by its
it's
current
close.
owner. They're waiting for
But it's
their
still the
replacement.
option. I
Yes,
guess. Okay.
He's still in
and
line to get
that
it.
one was approved as part of the budget.
Correct.
So that one we will just be funding out of the budget when it comes to it.
And Bill, you know that expenses are on track, and then, some of the pacing numbers can be off because you
Right.
prepay. Are there any areas of concern from your
No,
perspective?
no, I did want to look at, again, at, I think it was legal, and I think that's just how we encumbered. So the town council line, I'll look into that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Other than that, things seem to be tracking, and let's keep our fingers crossed for another light.
That'd be great with that new
Stop,
salt, with that
Joe.
new salt building. We'll call it a salt building.
If we don't need it.
It's not a shed anymore. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Bill? No. Super. We'll move on to item number 9, Turtle Lot Fund update.
I do have the current numbers.
Okay,
The account, the Weiss Hales Zahansky account is actually down a touch this month to 2.7 million. The Bank of America account was up a skosh, up to 155. So in total, the fund is at $2.9 million, well above the floor.
super. Anyone else? Board of Trustees, any comments? It's been pretty quiet. Okay. We'll move on to new business. We have a couple of items, 3 items here. The first is discussion and action, possible action, BOS request of the BOF for the replacement of the exterior single staff entrance door at the library, not to exceed $4,500. Any discussion on that? Amy, any other color you'd like to add
So-
before we begin to discuss it?
I will point out that the request was made of the trustees for a set of doors. Initially, the Board of Selectmen wasn't certain about this. We asked our Public Works Director, Joe Tasic, to take a look. Joe had come back to us and said this one single door that we are requesting on behalf of the trustees is definitely rotted. It really needs to be replaced. And the double doors he thought could survive another year or two. So, but we are bringing it to you on behalf of the trustees.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion on the topic by the Board of Finance members?
Yeah, I'm concerned how the funding is requested. I think we have somewhat in the neighborhood of 13,000 left in the repair and maintenance budget for the community center. And if we're going to use that, I have no objection.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I did ask, in addition to Amy's additional context, thank you, Amy, I asked Bill to pull together a few things that were.
That's where I got the number.
Perhaps I should have added. Perhaps I should have added that under correspondence, don't know, but that was to give everyone some insight to look at where they're at. Any other comments by the Board of Finance member?
Yeah,
Yes,
Rob, where do we stand with the removal of the oil tank? And are those costs covered, or are there gonna need additional money for the removal of the tank? Where
Great
do we
question.
stand with that?
Great question, Ryan. We chatted a little bit about that. Bill, can you give us an update on that?
Sure, so the contract on the tank replacement was 229,000, I believe, based on the conversations at the last building committee meeting. That project is on track, and the funding for that, you guys may remember, because it was discussed in this board, was really two-pronged approach, I suppose. It's the money that is now accumulated in what we used to call the library maintenance fund. There's approximately $89,000 in there, and money that was in the municipal repair fund that the town has built up over the last couple of years. Those two funding sources were to combine to take care of covering that bill. You may recall that there were a couple of other items that the board had earmarked in that in the municipal repair fund. As part of last year's budget, it was half of the lights at Riverside Park and half of the locker painting at the school. With the oil tank project coming in on track, those two should be protected. There should be sufficient money left over after the payment of the oil tank.
So the 229, to Brian's question, the 229, we're covered with the funds and we're not dipping into the
Right.
portion of
It's
it that we
close.
allocated.
It's tight.
Close, but we should be able to
Yes,
do
we
it.
should be okay.
Does that answer your question, Brian?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Dave. I mean, if they have the money in their budget right now, I think they should, maybe take it out of their funds to cover the 4,500. I was more worried if we didn't have enough money to cover the removal of the tank, well, then maybe I would shift my thinking a little bit, but
Yeah.
it sounds like the tank is covered and they need to stay within their budget.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Anyone else?
Is
I'll
there,
jump in.
I'm not sure I understand the reason for the request from us on the $4,500.
Well-
They have money in their budget to do this.
Yeah.
Why don't they do it?
Well, I suspected they wanted us to take it out of surplus.
Oh, they want an additional fund.
Yeah,
right.
I am sure.
That's why I made my comment.
Yeah, like, we want lots of stuff, but
Yeah.
Knowing, can I?
unless there's some other nuance to that.
Knowing how our former library director operated, I think that she knew that there were some other issues that might be cropping up. And I think she was saving that to handle those issues.
Yep.
I'm certain that she knows that there was something coming up that was going to need to be repaired.
That the
Yeah.
remaining 13,000
Right.
is.
But there again,
Other things.
if they get to the point where they don't have the money to
Understood.
cover something, then they can come back.
Understood.
Yeah.
That's,
Still-
that makes more
I
sense to
agree.
me.
It's still November, so.
Right.
Right.
That was my
That
comment.
was your comment. Yeah, and I'll weigh in as well, ask for that additional information. $4,500 is not a lot of money in a $30 million budget, and a $10 million municipal budget. They have over $500,000 budget, and I feel like the other element here is that, we're still kind of fighting for to increase our surplus, and I'm certainly not gonna forget about that for a long time. And I just feel like it's everybody's got to take a little part in it, and 4,500 is not a large number. But if we do that across the board in multiple places, now we got a $40,000 problem, and then 100,000, and we just can't do that. I think we need to set a culture for a period of time where if something like this comes up for 4,500, there might be something else we don't do.
That's right.
Or maybe there's something that we already didn't do and we can cover it. So it's not a lack of wanting to support the library, but I think given where we are at in the calendar, in the fiscal year, it would be hard to, I think, dip into our surplus that we're fighting to grow. That's my weak point.
Agreed.
I agree. Okay.
So I guess it was discussion and potential action.
I don't think any action is necessary.
I would agree with you.
Well,
Do we have
I
to
would still,
deposit?
I don't think so. I think, but I want to be sure before we move on that nobody has an action they'd like to
Yeah,
take.
sure.
So there were some voices heard, but not all voices. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 10B. Discussion and action 2025 BOF meeting schedule, including joint BOE BOS budget workshops. I had the old one, but I think this is better, Bill. You passed out a new one.
Yes, this is,
Really reads well.
Yeah.
thanks. It's more impressive in color. You'll notice a little bit. We unplugged the color printers at the town and the school, so.
Part of
So we
surplus
gotta let it
time.
black and white.
Part of surplus time. We're going back to black and white.
So this is the schedule that was approved, because it makes sense to have one schedule for all the boards, especially with all the joint meetings and such. The agenda specifically mentions, the idea of a joint BOE and BOF, budget workshop, which is currently scheduled for January 21st. And the hope there was that the Board of Finance would be able to sit in and listen to each of the administrators and the directors on the staff side, walking through their individual budget presentations, and be able to carry that knowledge into your budget meetings in a similar manner as we did with the joint Board of Selectmen meetings last year. So that was the idea. January 21st seems to be the date that makes the most sense for our administrators and directors to be able to have a pretty power-packed meeting that night and get through those presentations.
All the departments?
Just about all, if I
Wow.
remember right,
Yeah.
we got through all of them. There is a tremendous amount of discussion that happens after those presentations.
Yeah.
But obviously, Board of Finance members can come to any Board of Ed meeting if they'd like, love to see you there. But that specific meeting seemed to be the one where you might get your most bang for your buck, I guess is the way to say it.
I can't do Tuesdays.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention that.
So, thank you, Bill.
Yep.
Then beyond that, we then move to a February schedule with the 4 joint meetings like we did last year. It was 4
Correct.
meetings. Then we have about a month pause, which we had last year. Remember, last year was a bit of a trial year, the first time. And then we reconvene as a Board of Finance for 4 sessions, 3 plus 1 if needed. Last year, we did it in 3, I believe. Is that correct, Bill? But we still had scheduled extra.
We finished at the end of March. I think it was March
Yeah,
28th
yeah.
last year.
So I would take a page out of Steve Herbert's book. Maybe those last 2 weeks, 3/27 and 4/1, we schedule Tuesday, Thursday. Just because we did it last year in 3, who
Right.
knows? It
Right.
It might be that
It
we
may be a
change.
Right, we should
difficult
always
year.
It
cancel.
might be a difficult year and we could always cancel them. So I'm assuming that 3/27 and 4/1 are Thursdays.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just suggesting to the group that we add Tuesdays those weeks. We've done that for a lot of
Right.
years and most times don't use it, but have it.
Right.
Does it have to
Sorry,
be
Steve.
Tuesday?
It doesn't.
I have
it
Young
does-
Marines on Tuesday night and I'm an instructor, so
It,
Tuesdays are gonna be really
doesn't, it
challenging.
just split, it balanced the week up a little bit better.
I get it.
I'm not wed to any particular day. Actually, Monday would be better
Me
because I
too.
fly a lot. I fly out Tuesday morning, but I want to go with what works for the majority of the 6.
Yeah, it's gonna
Monday's
be,
fine with me.
it's gonna
I
be
think
tough
Board
for
of
me.
Ed has a lot of Monday meetings, that's the conflict there.
Well,
Is that fair to say or no?
The Monday Board of Ed meeting in that time frame is April 7th.
okay, so it's after the 4.
Okay, that's it.
Yep.
So what would 3/27 would be 26, 25 would be 3/24? That week would be Monday,
Yes,
3/24,
Monday, okay.
and then 3/31, the next week,
Yeah,
there's 31
3/31,
days in
yep.
March. Brian and Nathan, any issue with,
No, the only day I can't do is Wednesdays. After that, I'm available. Doesn't matter.
so Wednesdays?
So
are
you're
good?
not talking Wednesdays, Tuesday, Thursdays, or Mondays. That's fine.
Yeah, we'd be shifting, Brian, from Tuesday, Thursday to Monday, Thursday, even
That's
if we
fine.
even need it, it doesn't even necessarily mean we're gonna do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Schedule them, and if we don't need them, then we just cancel them.
Okay. I don't know when Nathan dropped off, but Dottie, at least 8:16, I wasn't paying attention, but Nathan's not with us anymore, so I would drop him off at 8:16 or earlier, please. Okay, Any other discussion?
have a
Yes,
couple-
Steve.
Couple.
yes,
Is there, I noticed that you call, some things are called budget workshops and some things are called budget hearings. Is that intentional or is there some difference in meaning or is there some? No, no, okay, all right.
We always had workshops.
I
I
didn't,
think
I didn't know
a
if that
hearing
was-
gives a different connotation.
Sounds like you were in courtroom or something.
I can change them to
that'd be great.
work.
Again, I just was a question whether.
No, I saw that as well. so. Okay,
And we also have to have our meetings approved, if I recall, before the beginning of the year, or at least scheduled before the beginning of the year to count as regular meetings. So.
yeah, we have
I
that.
see.
We have that in another page.
They're on here too.
Yeah,
January
That's been
16th.
finalized.
No, not this one. This
No, no, no,
doesn't
no,
go through the
no,
year.
The prior one goes all the way to December. There is one.
Yeah,
right here.
this one
Thank you.
goes through this,
Yeah.
this one does.
I think we merge them and vote on the
I
combination.
just wanted to make sure that we.
Yeah, we'll vote on the combination of the two with the regular Thursdays and then the workshops. We can't push it out to December.
Then the other comment would be the Juneteenth. I think that's a holiday for a lot of folks.
Okay, well, can we wrap up? Can we use, is there any other comments on the budget?
Oh, the budget one, okay. Sure.
Any other comments on the budget season? So we'd be looking at adding a meeting on the 21st with BOE. We'd have our standard 4 with BOS, which worked well last year. And then we'd have 4 plus 2 on our own. But for the month of March, we'd add those 2. We're good? Okay, sorry, Steve.
I have no.
Back to the standard schedule. I personally don't have an issue with working on the 19th. It's a holiday, but if others do, I'm fine with moving it, so I'm flexible. We're talking about Juneteenth, which
Yeah.
lands on a Thursday.
I have no-
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, please, this is Dottie.
Yes, Dottie,
Some town halls are closed on Juneteenth.
okay,
Would be too, right? We are. Yeah.
okay, that would be problematic.
I mean, I'll open it up for you if you want to have the meeting.
If the board's okay, we could move that one week. We could either move it to another Thursday in the month, or we could move
Day
it
earlier.
within
Oh, we
the,
can't do Wednesday.
within the
No.
month, within the week.
Yeah, be the 26th, the following.
You'll be busy.
Yeah,
I'm not here that week, just FYI.
can you call in hybrid?
No, not from a
You're
baseball
not
game.
here on the 26th?
No, I have tickets to a baseball game.
Oh, on the 26th.
That's all right. I'll
I'm
be
just
gone in
not-
January and February.
Well, I'll take care of it for you.
Would
I mean, you don't need
would
me.
June 12th work for the June meeting? We can pull it up 1 week instead of pushing it out? Would it-
Hopefully, we're not working on budget then.
Not a lot of guarantees in life. Brian and Nate, would the June meeting, if we moved it up 1 week to the 12th, work for everyone to be the second Thursday for that month?
That's fine.
Fine with me.
day before graduation.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it because both myself and the company actually celebrate that holiday, so that would be really nice.
So it would be 6/12. Um. You're very busy because it's the day before graduation.
That's a crazy week for me. But the Wednesday we have moving up and the Friday we have graduation. The 13th will be graduation, pending no snow days.
Can I offer a
Well, no,
suggestion?
that's.
No, it's graduation.
That's graduation no
Can I
matter
offer
what.
a suggestion, Ruben?
Yes.
Because you're always here. Maybe for that meeting, if you sent in
A report.
an email, I'll read it in place so that.
You, Rob.
Okay.
It'd be wonderful.
We like our Thursdays. Okay,
Very good.
okay, so we would be looking at, I put little dots on mine, but I don't wanna go through all the dates, but the 1 with the BOE plus the 4 with the BOS plus our 4 plus 2 from this page, budget season. And then the rest of it would be the 3rd Thursday of every month in the year, including budget season.
Mhm.
Plus, other than June, we'd move to the 2nd Thursday.
Right.
Is that?
Should be on the 12th.
All right.
okay,
Is
well,
Dottie gonna send us a copy of all of that?
Yeah, it should be updated.
Yeah, we'll update it.
Thank you.
Dottie, if you could update it, I think that would be helpful because we have it on 2 different pages. And if you don't have these, I'll scan them and send them to you. Thumbs up. She's awesome.
Thank you,
I don't
Dottie.
want to
Do we
make,
need- do we need a motion of approval? So
Yeah.
moved.
Okay.
As amended.
okay, is there a second? And Dottie, it's a complicated motion, so I'll send you my paperwork, but basically the motion is to approve the calendar with the budget season as outlined in document 1, which would be the 1 meeting, joint meeting with BOE, the 4 joint meetings with the BOS, and then the 6 BOF standalone meetings in March, along with the second doc, which is every third Thursday of every month, including budget season, other than June, which will be the 2nd Thursday. And we have a motion by Dave and a second by Steve. Any discussion on that quite complicated motion?
You think? My God.
Okay, all in favor of approving that schedule, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Good luck,
Okay.
Dottie.
No, Dottie, I'm gonna send you these, thumbs up, it's gonna be okay, we're good. So, new business, item 10C, discuss request, from Conservation Commission. That was on correspondence, it's a letter that came in directly to me earlier in the month, and one of the months. I don't know if you all had a chance to read it, but it's
Yep.
about sustainability. The town is, looking to form a Thompson Sustainability Committee. And they've reached out to the Board of Finance to see if one member of our board would like to volunteer to take part. So I'll ask, is there anyone in the group that would like to take part in this project endeavor on sustainability?
I'm willing to do it, but if someone else wants to, so we defer to someone else who has more.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Does the town becoming a part of this and establishing this committee encounter the town to financial changes to support some of the ideas that the committee may come forth with in order to be recognized by the, what is it, the state of Connecticut Sustainability Committee? Are we going to encounter any expenses?
I agree,
Are they-
Dave. Is it-
If they
is this gonna be
decide, well,
another-
the town needs this
Mm,
in order to be part of this,
yes. understand the
somebody has to
question.
pay for it.
Understand the question.
Right, I agree with
Right.
Dave. I mean, is this gonna be like, all of a sudden, we're gonna have a line item for this in the budget? Is there possible to get some numbers? If there are numbers?
If I could
Yes,
just share,
please,
I
please.
sat in
I
the
know
meeting
that.
with because I'm in every conservation committee meeting. And they had hosted sustainability, sustain CT, sustain. It's not really the state of Connecticut, it's sort of an agency that works in conjunction with the state. And the markers that they had presented are things that the town already does, and it's just really putting together putting together a checklist and saying, well, this is what the town is already doing. And then it really just qualifies you to apply for grants through this agency. So,
And probably having the involvement of the Board of Finances of the towns helps
Right.
sustain, you know.
right, they've asked every single committee.
They're trying to get broad
Yeah.
participation. I guess I view it, but good question, Dave and Brian. This is not, we're not voting on anything here.
Right.
No, I
I think
understand.
if and when that we have to cross that kind of bridge, it would come through our budget cycle, right? And so I that's something we may want to keep listening and hearing for, but I don't know if it's a requirement for the.
Yeah, I don't think we're committing to any funding.
No,
If we don't have a volunteer, they're gonna move forward with this and they're
Right.
gonna have a discussion about budget if there is one or not.
Well, if you read the first paragraph, it indicates a number of areas which may in fact
Yep.
require funding.
A significant amount of funding if they did it. all.
Yes,
Could be,
that's why I'm asking.
but there's a reason, there's a reality to what we can do and not do, just like any other initiative. I think. Anyone else interested in?
Again, if anybody would rather,
Steve,
willing to do it
I
more
actually
than
think to
I-
Dave's point, if you did participate, not only can you give them a perspective, but you can bring back perspective.
I
too.
would expect to report that and let it go.
Okay.
It does ask
Thank
that
you, Steve.
whoever it is gets reported to her by the 30th of November
Yep,
at the bottom,
Yep.
so we do need to give a
I can
name.
respond. I don't think this is something we necessarily need to vote on. We have one volunteer, so.
Yeah.
We'll take the, thank you, Steve.
I may regret that.
Nothing's for
I can guarantee you're gonna regret that.
You're gonna make sure of it, huh?
No, I'm gonna stay out of it. I'm trying to downsize.
If you need a backup, let me know.
Okay.
Item, number
If you'd
11.
rather do it.
No. Just saying.
You guys gonna go rock, paper, scissors?
No, he can have it. If he needs help in the end, call me. How's that?
That's nice of you, Nikki. Okay, item number 11, old business. We added this, Brian, if you recall, at the end of last meeting, we started to get into it, but the correspondence kind of came in that same day, and I said, we're gonna have a more in-depth discussion. Let's push it to the November meeting, so people had a chance to read the letter, absorb it, et cetera. So, I don't.
Oh, I
think-
thought it was a letter
Probably
she
any
painted
action.
the lockers.
Say again?
I thought it was a letter she painted the lockers. I was gonna be real happy.
No. I'll just recap very quickly. It's in last month's file. But basically, there was about 490, after the audit results, there was a surplus of 496,000. And the BOE they agreed to move 122,000 back to improve our surplus situation, along with a potential another 84,000, depending on how some of their plans fall into place, meaning that there's an estimated 84,000 unallocated. After the 122 is removed from the 496, and then they do their projects, there's about 84,000 left, so it could be closer to $206,000. Are there any questions or comments from the group?
No, I appreciate the concern of the Board of Education and setting this up. I think their concern is similar to ours, and they realize the importance of maintaining a strong fund.
I think
Big
it's,
contribution toward
Hmm.
the town. to
Yeah,
help the town.
I agree, Dave, massively, and I appreciate where, the max is the max and they're using what they need and not the max, and
Mhm.
understanding that, but if we were in a different situation, we would say, hold it for other uses, but we appreciate the cooperation and the partnership that we've all built, and I thank you guys last time, with Kathleen, you as the chair and Melinda as the leader of that, the whole school system, means a lot. Means a lot. Any other comments or questions? Let us know when the sports ready.
Bill will let you know.
Thank you, Bill. Item. And now I lost my, okay.
Citizens'
Item,
comments.
item number 12, citizens' comments. Any other, we had none at the beginning, but are there any?
Just under
I know, I want to start in the room real quick. Thank you. Citizens' comments on Zoom. Jessica Bolte, if you could, state your name again and your address, please.
Jessica Bolte, 1081 Riverside Drive. In regards to the playground project, Kira has already submitted the reimbursement paperwork to the state, and she advised that she'll be checking in with them again tomorrow as to the status of it.
Thank you, Jess. Okay, appreciate that. Any other citizen comments by the citizens on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 13, Board of Finance member comments. Any Board of Finance members have any comments at this time?
A really dumb question.
No questions.
Oh, no, this one's dumb.
Nick?
Mostly because we went over the calendar. Are there like required number of attendances?
Every meeting?
Okay.
Sure, that's. No, no, I.
What are you
it's a good
failing,
question.
Nick? You're gonna start skipping every other one?
Well, not if you do them on Tuesdays, just like if we did them on Wednesdays for you. No, I was
Nikki,
just
I
curious.
actually
If it
don't-
makes you feel better, I'll be in Florida, January, February.
Oh,
That doesn't make me feel better, but maybe it makes you feel better.
Nikki, I don't know the
We
answer.
have Zoom.
I don't know if there's a technical
I'm on
answer
vacation.
to your question.
Yeah.
I know that we've,
I'm not
I
working.
know that, excuse me, I know that we've done Zoom and hybrid meetings now for
Yep.
quite some time to help with that. And then if there's times when you can't make it, you know, life happens. So I just ask that you let me know.
Yeah.
Because when I hear two are gone and then I don't know, I start thinking we're gonna have a quorum.
Okay.
So
No,
that's,
What is
I'm
quorum?
leaving January 15th and
I already blocked you off for a while.
coming back in late February.
What's quorum?
Okay.
3? Or is it 4?
Anyone else on the board have a comment at this time?
No,
I had
everybody
a
have a
quick
good
question,
Thanksgiving.
actually. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
Nate,
Lynch. No, go ahead.
Brian. Hang on.
No,
Nate.
Brian can go first. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna say, if there was no comments, that everybody have a good Thanksgiving, seeing I'm getting the second shoulder fixed. I couldn't drive today, so that's why I'm zooming.
I'll pick
It'll
you
help
up
my
next
golf,
time,
it'll help
Brian.
my golf game, Dave.
You let me know, Brian. I'll come and pick you up next time. No
Yeah, all right.
problem. Nate, you had a comment or a question?
I did. In regards to the whole EMS thing that we brought up, you mentioned that it's not the town of Putnam, it's a privately owned company or something like that, that we're paying all this money into. So what is the name of the company or that we're contributing to service the town of Thompson, since all this seemed to cause a bit of a ruckus?
Yeah, it's called Putnam EMS. That's how they're registered.
So it's Putnam EMS, but it has nothing to do with the town of Putnam.
I wouldn't say nothing. They service the town of Putnam as they service the town of Thompson. They just happen to have the same name as the town of Putnam, which people oftentimes think it's part of the town of Putnam. And why is Putnam taking care of our EMS services?
Right.
It's not, it's really an independent group, and we're joined together to try to get economies of scale, right? To work together versus having each town do it independently. But since it started only servicing Putnam, somebody named it Putnam EMS.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Just
the
like,
history.
you know.
So is Putnam
Community.
paying in the same amount of money that we're paying into? Because I know this started a lot with the whole thing being shut down on the center of town
Yeah.
for the fire department. So is Putnam paying in the same amount as us? Or are we paying more? Because from people in my area where I live in Thompson, they feel like it's taking longer for ambulatory services to come out to their area. And
Yeah.
they're saying Putnam is being favored more because of where they are. And I always
Yeah.
thought it was because it was the town of Putnam, and we were just contributing to that. And now it's turning out that it's just an independent service and we're paying into that service. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of a clarification for
Yeah.
those answers.
It's a good question. So there's multiple routes, but the three most common routes is for the town to fund it entirely itself and it'd be part of the town. That's not what we've done. The other one is to use an independent service, which is what we have which is what we've done via contract. And the third would be through a nonprofit, and the third would be to go to a for-profit company. And that would be the most expensive route. As it relates to Putnam only, they're stationed, the EMS people that respond are stationed with 2 crews. All around the clock, 24/7, 2 crews. One resides in the town of Thompson and the other resides in the town of Putnam. And we actually, on peak hours, have a 3rd crew and can bring a 3rd truck out. And the importance of that is we then don't need to rely on what they call, help me out, Amy, when they go to another town. Mutual aid. When you go to mutual aid, another town picks that up. And they also collect any revenue that comes from that. So the entity is funded through collections, through insurance, through Medicare, Medicaid, other sources of funding for the calls, and they're subsidized or supported in addition to that via both towns. Both towns pay the same amount. We actually pay a little bit less in terms of absolute cash because we brought some vehicles to the fleet. And the value of those vehicles deducted from our obligation because there was real value to those vehicles. But in essence, when you look at the value of those vehicles, both towns pay the same amount. And if you further get the argument or the question that why should we pay as much as Putnam? And I'm making these numbers up. We have 20 calls and Putnam has 30 calls. They have more calls. They should pay more. We need to be really careful. They have 30 calls. They also collect in a lot more money for those calls. So we've agreed. We may have less calls because our population's less. Our area is much wider, so they're out a lot longer. So in the end, it all balances out and it's a true partnership between the 2 towns. I hope that helps, Nate. And I think it's important that we know.
Yeah,
those
so
facts. And when we
correct me
hear
if
those
I'm wrong
items,
then.
you can
from
help
what I-
explain people that don't
Okay.
have the clarity around it.
There's usually a monthly report on Facebook or through Winnie.
Yep.
It's on Facebook.
Yep.
And
So
they-
correct me if I'm wrong then. from
Sorry,
what-
Nate, in regard to you, sorry, Nate, in regard to your comment around times,
Okay,
the times have actually improved if you get the data. The response times have dropped and when you add in the 24-hour coverage, they've dropped dramatically.
Oh, I was curious about that because I remember when, our wonderful selectman actually was on Winnie a while ago. I actually called in and asked about that, about the times and all of that. She said she didn't have those numbers. So I was really curious about where, if there's any statistics or book numbers or anything like that that I could research and look at or get presented to me. I'd really appreciate it because it didn't seem like, from what people are telling me, in my area, it was not an improved subject. But I was just curious though, correct me if I'm wrong, because the town's paying what, $40,000 a month into this independent company that you're saying, which I thought was the town of Putnam. Interesting connections over that, but if that's not wrong, then let me know that I'm not speaking of the truth over the number. It was not the case when this whole situation first started because of the approval of the fire department down on Main Street there, or Riverside Drive, whichever it is. I'm sorry, I'm not good with dates, but no locations. But is that's not the case? Because I'm just a little confused over why we continue to pay into this when we already had something that was already established.
When we had, so, you know what, Nate, let's, why don't we chat a little bit offline rather than holding everyone? They're good questions, but there's a lot of history
I
there.
find them to be excellent questions, and everyone should be here and hear the same thing because this is the Board of Finance. This is what
Sure.
we're supposed to be doing. And I'm just really curious over these things because I've inquired over these things and I haven't received answers over it.
Yeah,
And a lot of people are very, very concerned over the matter because that's a high expense. And now I'm finding out that it's not the town of Putnam that we're paying into for it. It's an independent company that we're paying into. Now we're equal to the town of Putnam, but yet they have a higher call rate because they have a higher population, but we're still doing that. But people are noticing through the statistics, because I thought that we paid $8,000 or something, what it was 9
Maybe.
months ago to get statistics over where the research of how long it's going to go from A to B to Z to get to like the hospital, for example.
Yeah. Nate, it's not, I was trying to move you offline because I don't want everybody to hear it. Everybody's lived it. And you haven't, and, you know, it's fair, they're fair questions because you weren't here living through it. So that's why I was moving it offline. I wasn't moving it offline to, not allow everyone to hear it. And something of this magnitude, I would suggest it's either offline or we add it to our agenda because it's far more than a comment. Nate, it's getting into a lot of dialogue and Q and A. And I think you need the data. I think you need the facts so that you can represent, the town of Thompson and the decisions that this board made. You don't need to agree to every decision because you could vote no, but I think you need to understand the underlying, you need to have available to you the underlying facts around how we got to where we are, which,
And what the options were.
what the options were at the time, which was closer to $600,000. The town's paying 280,000-ish, it might be 288 or something in that neighborhood. But what we're paying for is providing absolute facts, far more coverage than our townspeople have, and we all felt that when it's our family member or our loved one, we'd all want 24-hour coverage.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Could I just say something to Mr. Lanky,
Sure.
who referenced me?
Yeah.
If you called into Winnie and I didn't have numbers, it's because I didn't have them in front of me. I didn't know who you were calling in. If I'm very happy to meet with you in my office and I will share the statistics and data that I get every single month.
That would be great.
Yes.
And Nate, if you want to talk offline, I do that, to give you as much detail as I have, having lived through it, and I'll also put it on the agenda if you feel that it's important for the board to talk about it as well.
Oh, sure, that would be fantastic. Absolutely. Between you and Ms. St. Ange, the selectmen, that would be fantastic.
Okay, let's do that. It's important, and it's important to me that you know, that I share with you the history and the context. Any other citizen comments, citizen comments? No more citizen comments. Any other Board of Finance member comments?
Yeah,
at
I
this
was,
time?
Thanksgiving
Steve.
come up, I was sort of thinking about all the contributions that citizens, the members of our town government provide to us, and they just do a fantastic job. They're hard workers, they're very dedicated. You know, things that before I got involved with government, I would never have kind of expected the dedication and hard work that I see every day from the members of our town, from Paul to Amy to all the other members in all the departments in this town. I'm really thankful for what they do. They really do a fantastic job for us.
That's awesome, Steve. Thank you. Anyone else?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Make a motion to
To
adjourn.
I'm gonna give that one to Dave. Would anybody like to second?
I'll second it, Dave.
Brian second. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you,
happy
everyone.
Just
Thanksgiving.
a correction.
Happy Thanksgiving.